turn to James. James Lemon was again the founder of and CEO of the Growth Works. So James, you will share your view on how to, in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis, IHG protect, react, and prepare basically to this situation, and how you're responding to the crisis thanks to innovation, which is your strong suit.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Caroline, and hi everyone. Great to be here. Fantastic community, and I actually was a big fan of Bidroom. So we're working flat out at IHG, really considering the business in two phases. Step one has just been all about protection, and I'm sure, like other hoteliers, everyone's been working flat out for about 6 weeks to kind of protect our teams, protect our hotels, and really protect our businesses. We're right in the middle of a kind of react phase, which is actually like, what can we be doing right now to kind of stay busy, stay proactive, keep learning. And of course, we're just at the foothills really of a prepare phase, which is, what is the recovery going to look like, and how do we as hoteliers kind of stand to go forward? So really three things I wanted to talk through really. One is I just give a bit of a sense of how IHG is seeing the recovery. Again, I'll try not to go over ground that might have been covered on other amazing webinars that are out there. Some of the thoughts on how to watch for demand, how to actually prepare for change, because I think we're all seeing that this is a big opportunity for the industry if we grab it right, but it could also pass us by. And lastly, just talk a little bit about partnerships as a concept. What does it actually take to make it work? Why use partnerships now? Why are so many people talking about partnerships with everything going on? As ever, I always start with a hypothesis. Hospitality is a creative industry, but new ideas are hard to implement, they're difficult to measure, and they're not easy to scale. For probably 2 decades, certainly as long as I've been working in travel, we've been talking about the time to embrace technology, the time to embrace startups, the time to embrace kind of learning from other industries. But I think it's fair to say we've also been expressing quite a lot of frustration as an industry. Like, why are we finding this so hard? We haven't really had technology or partnerships as part of our DNA, and we've often been guilty of doing the same things the same way. So really, I created the Growth Works about 18 months ago to try and fix that. It really is designed to exist where strategy meets innovation, taking the ideas that as an industry we're all full of and putting them into, channeling them really into innovation hubs for hotel chains and for hospitality businesses, so that we can get really passionate about unlocking the power that partnerships can offer. Very lucky, after a career at IHG, IHG is a fantastic launch partner for what I'm trying to do at the Growth Works. But we're out there talking to regional and national hotel chains about unlocking growth, embedding technology, supporting their teams, and actually just very commercially, like, where are we going next? Obviously, it's a journey we started before the downturn, and we've had a pretty stressful and hectic 8 weeks trying to think, actually, how can we be relevant to a hospitality industry in crisis? And we know that we absolutely had to change our thinking about 8 weeks ago. A paid-for consultancy model is not something that the hoteliers of the world were going to use. So what we did instead is we went back to all of our partners and we said, look, how as an industry, how as a group of, or a community of tech companies, of industry partners, can we support hoteliers right now, share this pain, but also be part of what could be the revolution of the industry? And so we bolted together a whole series of interesting partnerships with people like Uber Eats and SK Chase and a whole mix of others, to say to the hotel industry, all is not lost. Although we can't always accept guests right now, there are other things that we can do and other ways we can move forward. But I think, to level set, I think we'd say, for many hotels, it's just not been the right time, actually, the last month or so, to think about partnerships. I think, the reality of, 90 or, if you're closing a hotel, 100% falls in occupancy and a revenue base of 0, it means you just don't have any customers. And for a lot of hotels, you haven't got any teams in the building right now. A lot of you have been forced to close by authorities. Some of you have been very creative around helping with key workers and helping with medical services. And actually, worryingly, I think hopefully you're all following things like Oxford Economics and Smith Travel Research. there's not a sign of a rapid recovery. You know, even out of China, we're seeing hotels that are opening in stages. We're seeing a real battle for the little bit of demand that is out there. And probably most interestingly, I think Callum alluded to it, and I'm sure others will too, are we seeing underlying shifts in customer behavior? You know, have things happened to us as a civilization in the last 8 to 12 weeks that means actually we might be thinking about travel and buying travel differently on the corporate or the leisure side? So as hoteliers, we've got all of this stuff going on in crisis. My advice to people has been really simple. It's as, can we even save 5 or 10% of our thinking right now to think about preparing for recovery? It's been absolutely the right thing to do to swamp everything on this kind of protect theme. So we've seen amazing businesses kind of supporting their communities, getting their teams safe. You know, we've been kind of offering up partnership opportunities, and hoteliers just been saying, you know, it's just not the right time. I need my team to be at home thinking about their families. Let's not, you know, think about revamping our website or getting back into the kitchens and getting them up and running. And I think that's been absolutely the right thing to do. But we are entering a slight new normal. You know, we are now at home. It is what it is. We're starting to see countries like Spain and Italy enable some travel, enable some movement. So now we're in this react phase. And I think as a hotelier and as a leader, we've absolutely got to put small teams or small periods of people's time thinking about preparation. So that's what we're doing at IHG. We've started what we're calling recovery war rooms, which I'll tell you a little bit about, kind of in each of our regions, and then you know, a big kind of combined global effort. But the challenge is that I'll come back to again and again is that actually we just don't know how this is going to end up. You know, I think a lot of the data that we're seeing out there, and a lot of other hoteliers probably agree, that we're not just going to be bouncing back to January and February levels of performance, you know, over the next few months or so. I'm sure some industries will spring back into action, but it seems like in travel, we may come back in a more subdued way. People may be nervous about gathering in public spaces and lifts and big conferences. So we've been thinking about 4 phases. One is actually you're going to need a series of scenarios. You're going to need to think about, you know, how might different segments react and how might demand look a bit different. You need monitoring skills, which is actually, it could just be a revenue manager, but someone on your team needs to be monitoring actually what are searches on your website like, what is, and you know, international traffic into your destination like. You're going to need to be building some really simple plans, but more importantly, and I'm trying to energize the industry around this, we're going to have to be innovators. We're going to have to run little experiments all the time as hoteliers now for the next 6 to 12 months or so to really understand what's going to resonate with the traveling community as they come back. So that might feel great for a big hotel chain, lots of resource, but actually we really are just a small squad of kind of 5 people at the moment, kind of hacking away at this at IHG. So I really want to share as much as I can with everyone else and really think about how the growth works are helping hoteliers think about recovery. So here's just a really honest list of stuff that we're looking at right now. You know, one is, Callum's alluded to it, and a lot of people are talking about it. This domestic travel, is domestic going to rebound a little bit stronger than international, either because of the way authorities release the lockdown or the way people are perhaps nervous about flying? If so, you know, how is your hotel set up on your own website and in terms of your sales teams to really be capturing the kind of cut and thrust of picking up domestic demand? You know, would a domestic leisure traveler come to your hotel website to really understand, you know, where you are in the city and what's going on around your hotel? Distribution mix. You know, the industry has talked a lot over the last 10 years about direct bookings versus indirect bookings, but how are customers going to respond? You know, a lot of hoteliers are really frustrated with, you know, booking.com and the way some of the OTAs have responded to the crisis. But actually, what are you doing to really own your direct journey, to own the interactions that customers are having on your website? And while we're talking about websites, think how comfortable we've all got as customers with, you know, online. You know, every segment now from young to old has become online first in the last 12 weeks or so, for groceries, for our shopping, for our social. Well, how does your your digital channels reflect that? Can you buy all of the services of your hotel in a couple of clicks on your website? Can you chat to someone in your hotel while on your website? And if not, how might you experiment around that customer trend? We're talking a lot about groups business. Again, I'm sure we've all planned conferences we were supposed to be going to, and it just hasn't materialized. We're seeing conferences moving completely out of the 2020 calendar, and even some people looking at not reconfirming 2021 yet, waiting to see what happens in the future. And then there's the customer thoughts as well. Again, the two big trends around hygiene and social distancing. Well, what's that going to mean as customers come back? So a war room kind of mentality, putting together a small cross-functional team across these four areas would absolutely be the way that I would go, even if it's just 1 or 2 hours a week to start with your leadership team. You know, scenario planning is really about, look, you know, is there an element of your hotel strategy you wanted to execute and just haven't been able to do for the last few years? You've just been too busy, whether that be anything from a renovation to new tech, looking at, you know, did you want to go after, you know, local sales in a bigger way? Well, now's your time because you're starting from zero. You know, there's a great quote by Sloan Dean, the CEO of Remington Hotels, a couple of days ago, where he's like, we're all starting at zero revenues. So we're going to have to build this up percentage point by percentage point. Are there ways that your hotel can make money that isn't rooms that you have got sitting there? You know, whether that be in your kitchens, in your meeting space, on your website, the kind of things that we're talking about today. And then on demand, how might different customers react? Do we think you need to have a big play in hygiene? How are you going to, are you getting more calls around social distancing on your websites? And how might you think about putting those kind of messages into your customer emails or on your website? And then it's all about monitoring. Don't go crazy and try a load of stuff, but start monitoring what guests are asking for, how different demand segments are coming back. Try and look at some data as a team and see what that tells you. Then is the experimentation. And it's at this point that people like Eleanor, Sam, and Callum definitely need to get a phone call. Again, as an industry, we've all rallied around and gone, look, we need to help hotels right now. You know, almost everyone I know will spend 30 minutes or 60 minutes explaining kind of their offering and getting trials going. So if you wanted to tweak your website, if you wanted to tweak your guest journey, now is the time. What kind of experiments can you run? And this is the kind of time where, as the Growth Works, we'd love to step in and help you, because we're all experienced project management. And this is where it can take a little bit more time and potentially a little bit more expertise in terms of, you know, shortlisting the right people, doing some negotiations, maybe doing a bit of light integration. So, but be prepared to try some new stuff. And then lastly, of course, is management, which is actually which of these things is working and how do you kind of scale it going forward, especially if you have more than one property. Easy to get one site going and one pilot, but if you want this to be going on all of your sites, how do you get your ops teams, your sales teams, your general managers behind it all? And I think, you know, I'm sure Carolyn will be confirming this, partnerships is the way to go. You know, again, all of the big chains now, and we're exactly the same at IHG, we've had to cut investment levels right back on our in-house technology projects and our kind of in-house initiatives. So we're going to be turning to partners in a bigger way, because firstly, they've been thinking about this for, you know, 5-10 years. They know this space. They really are the experts. And there's a partner for everything we've looked at, you know, whether that be gift vouchers on your websites or food delivery out your kitchen or, you know, local attractions. There's people who already have completely white labeled services ready to kind of stick into your business. They're really low cost, which is the way it's got to be right now. Again, we've seen pretty much all the services that we've been looking at over the last 3 months have all slashed startup costs to virtually zero, and work on much more of a revenue share model, which is, look, if you make money, we make money, and everyone goes along. And again, that's a great place to go because it means you've got skin in the game and they want it to work as well. They're also really fast. They're motivated to get going, but actually they've done this before for probably dozens of your peers. Whereas if you go to your website agency and you try and spin something up from scratch, you're going to be caught up in, you know, product design cycles for weeks and months. So it's a really easy lift and much faster. And it's also much less risky, of course. All these guys that I've worked with have got a really strong business case as well. So you can almost kind of see how good they are before you buy, which is great. So if I were to kind of boil it all down, there's really, I think, three things that need to happen. One is it's going to take pretty smart facilitation. If you've siloed up your business into, sales, revenue management, marketing, ops, now's the time to force everyone into a room and do some great facilitation to actually gather that team, get the ideas out, and then start to shortlist. What are you going to try? What's going to go first? How are you going to monitor the market? How are you going to get a single way of looking at the data so you can move faster? You've then got to manage your recovery. It's not going to bounce back the same way, back to kind of February 2020 level. So you've got to be prepared to work a bit harder, kick off some of these partnerships, support the team, give people space. Look to some of your young leaders as well, right, who are more digitally savvy, who are the kind of travelers that people like Callum are talking about. You'll be able to tap into new segments if you get the whole team involved. But really, it's about emerging stronger. It's about a fast path back to profit, even if the recovery doesn't come as fast as we'd like. It actually gives you culture benefits too. You end up with a much more agile team if you're able to try stuff fast, fail fast, and see what works. But also, it's not going to cost you the earth. So we're doing quite a few of these every week now. We, again, much like many partnerships in the industry, we offer any of Bidroom's customers a free hours facilitation session. If you can get all of your team on a Zoom call at any one time, could be one of you, it could be 3 or 4 of you, we've got a structured session. We take you through kind of questions, options, and then plan, and we leave you with a kind of roadmap and some ideas of where to go next. But definitely get involved. Definitely start somewhere. So we recommend everyone downloads our emergency toolkit. It's up on our website. It talks about exactly the kind of themes you can be doing for your business now. But it's also got some great learning and training opportunities in there for your team, some great ways to give back to the community. We've also kicked off a free mentorship program as well, where those who are more early careers, ops, sales, revenue managers, and this is going to be their first recovery. Talking to people who have been there before in small groups to kind of hold them accountable. So we just kicked that off a couple of weeks ago. Lots going on there. But absolutely recommend you please don't get left behind. Please, if you've ever thought that your business needs to be more innovative, you need to be fast moving, you need to have that culture of innovation. Don't miss this opportunity to share ideas, get access to what's going on out there. So it's absolutely something we've embedded in IHG, and happy to kind of share those lessons as well. But it works really well with smaller chains where that decision making can be a little bit faster. So follow us on social media, and would love to kind of continue the discussion online. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Many thanks, Jem, for a very good presentation. It was music to my ears. Yes, we believe strongly in partnerships, and that's why you're all here today. So we will be happy also to share your emergency toolkit, which is excellent tool for our hotels. So we will share with the audience after this webinar. So 2 questions for you, James. The first one, so as you say, expect for the best, prepare for the worst. What is your own take on the most likely recovery scenario to come? U-shape, L-shape, we hear all these V-shape things all around. And what an L-shape would mean for hotels?
Yeah, look, I think the challenge is, and I've had a lot of these conversations, it's going to be different actually by location and by hotel type. So I would be incredibly foolish to make a recommendation, have anyone base their plans on it. The key thing I recommend is that everyone has really good monitoring out there and thinks through what each of those different scenarios would mean for your business. So if rooms revenue does only come back up to 20% of what it was for the whole year, what else can you do as a hotel to survive and keep your teams busy? But equally, if some demand on the leisure or corporate side bounces back faster, are you ready to capture that business direct? Are you at the mercy of the travel management companies or the OTAs? So I can only recommend scenario planning, for each of your demand segments, for each of your channels, looking at a couple of the new customer trends, and just think, then monitoring actually, am I seeing forward bookings? Am I seeing traffic on my website? Am I, have a look at your OTA dashboards. Am I getting click-throughs? So, I mean, I won't completely avoid the question. I think I'm probably in the camp of that domestic travel will come back first for most markets. So those hotels that really get ahead in their sales and marketing, cut and thrust old school local corporate sales, and really savvy website marketing around the attractions and why you're a great place in the community to be. I think things like family reunion packages, I think will be, kind of the way to go. But again, different for different types of hotels. I think groups and meetings business, I think will be, unfortunately a lot slower to recover. For many sectors, that international business will be slower, but not all. Again, if you're, pharma, tech, oil and gas, you might well see travel come back a little bit faster. So yeah, don't hold me to any of those on any particular site, but it's going to be scenario planning and monitoring and being prepared to experiment and leaping on any green shoots you see. That's going to be the way to go.
Yeah, so many different scenarios depending on the segment we're talking about. So last question for you, Jem. So what about price strategy? What would you recommend regarding prices to hotel? Discount, higher prices, lower prices?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I was lucky enough and unlucky enough to join the industry kind of 2008. It was my first downturn. And so I think we all know the logic of sticking strong on price. Intellectually, it's just a lot harder to rebuild room rates. At the same time, I know how unhelpful that is when you are in the middle of a cash flow crisis, and especially if you're feeling more vulnerable. Honestly, I think for me, value added packages is the way to go. If you can protect that headline rate and there's other things in there that's non-room revenue that you can bulk it out with, whether that be meals or bar vouchers or spa. I think for me, that's absolutely kind of the way to go. Try and protect your kind of headline room rate pricing, because it's just so hard to build. But at the same time, giving customers a great sense that this is a really good deal. And I'm a big fan of, it's almost a mastermindly planned. I'm a really big fan of things like local attraction packages, because there's just such a good sense of value, because you can take a bit of a hit on the room rate, and the guest is getting a really good sense of good room rate package, good attraction pricing, and everyone comes away feeling good about it. So I would absolutely go down the route of creative corporate and leisure packages over the next 6 months, but try and protect basic rates.